Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for taking the time to attend our session today. We realise it's the late afternoon on a Saturday session, so thank you for coming. It's good to see you. My name's Adam Kirby. I'm from HybrIT Services, and we're here today joined by, firstly, my trusted colleague, Greg Hawthorne. Hello, Greg.
Hi, Adam.
And also we have with us today David Wyatt, who is the head of IT service delivery for the marketing practice. Hello, David. The marketing practice, or TMP as we know them, are coming to the end of a major cloud transformation program and adoption of several Microsoft technologies. We're going to talk to David today about the highs and the lows of their cloud journey. Now, TMP are a HybrIT Services customer, and we've worked very closely over the last couple of years as their strategic IT partner. For those of you who don't know who HybrIT are, we are a managed service provider with a core focus on Microsoft technologies, taking organizations such as TMP on their cloud journey. Together we have delivered projects across a multitude of technologies, including Azure, Microsoft 365, Modern Workplace, Security, and Power Platform. You may have seen today one of our colleagues, Rory Neary, who presented over in the other building. If he's in the room today, hello, Rory. Now I'm going to hand over to Greg, who's just going to talk through the journey with David, with TMP, and how it's gone for them.
Thanks, Adam. So, good afternoon, everyone. Graveyard shift. We have a lot of people in the audience for the purposes of the cameras. We'll Photoshop that later. David, let's start with a bit of an intro from you, who you are, what you do, and a little bit about TMP, so we just sort of set the scene of how you ended up with where we are.
My name's David Wyatt. I'm the head of IT service delivery. We are a global B2B marketing agency, so we have quite a wide geographic spread of offices. So we're head office in the UK, just south of Oxford, but we've got offices in Sydney, Munich and Seattle as well, with a user base of around sort of 200 people. Whilst it's not massive, it's quite a wide spread of people. Mostly agile, mostly working remotely. And up to this point, we've been quite a company with a strong growth. But at the start of this year, we've acquired, as part of a strategic acquisition, we've acquired two other agencies, one called Oma Bono, the other one called Kingpin Communications, to sort of add to our services that we deliver globally across all of our clients. In terms of our client base, one of them being Microsoft, we work with mainly sort of the bigger players within the tech market. So Microsoft, we work with AWS, Lenovo, Dell, all those sort of sorts of vendors across all of the major markets within each of the regions. So yeah.
And I believe actually when we first met, you were planning on moving to AWS, and as your strategic partner, we changed your minds, right?
Yeah. So to explain some context, so we, as part of the initial discovery of our migration into the cloud, there was a couple of key applications workloads that we were using as a business. One being an agency platform where we were essentially our CRM, our professional services application. And the other one was a digital asset management solution that we hadn't implemented at that point, but we needed a way to manage our larger creative assets that our creative team were working on across the globe. So the systems we were looking at, or looking to move to, in regards to our agency platform, we were running the application as an on-premise application, and they had a SaaS offering. So their SaaS offering was being ran from AWS. The other one, the DAM, Digital Asset Management Solution, the solution we were looking at was also being run within AWS as well. So was a few key workloads that were being ran within AWS that sort of tipped the scales towards them. We are an Office 365 house, so there were some things within Microsoft that we were using, but not all. So that's sort of the reason why we'd initially decided to use AWS, go towards an AWS route. As we sort of moved down the line, as a business, that we decided not to adopt our agency platform SaaS offering. Which, just in simple terms, it swung the balance. The workloads that we were looking towards to run within AWS, it made more sense to start running within Azure. And it just helped for the fact that obviously HybrIT were a Microsoft partner and helped us realise some of those benefits.
So we've kind of got this IaaS estate. We've got this sort of very traditional on-premises 3-2-1 infrastructure. We've got a bit of Office 365 going on, not much in the way of endpoint management, and we have sort of aging on-premises estate. The first thing we kind of needed to deal with was the connectivity, right? Because there was some challenges there.
Yeah, so one of the key success criteria for us in moving to the cloud was hygiene factors. So it wasn't ever going to be successful if we'd adopted the cloud fully and people in the offices were having connectivity issues, that sort of thing. So there was a review of all of our office spaces, one being the Wi-Fi infrastructure, so reviewing that, seeing where we were with it. The other being our firewall infrastructure, how we were connecting into Azure. And then the other one was internet connectivity. So there were a few things, specifically for our UK office, we had to do a complete refresh of our infrastructure. So upgrades our internet lines, refresh the switches, the Wi-Fi, just so that when it came to the migration into Azure and us working from there, that perception from an end user perspective was a good one. It wasn't I've got all these issues, why have we moved to the cloud? Thankfully, so far so good, and the experience has been good from an end user perspective. But yeah, there was some key things that we needed to upgrade first of all in order to realise some of those benefits from cloud.
Okay, so we sort the connectivity out. We've got better Wi-Fi, better throughput for the migrations. We've been reviewing the applications around whether they need to be SaaS and replaced or using this sort of standard methodology. We've moved some of your key workloads into Azure, and so far so good. We've got some improved stability in those workloads. So we kind of focus then on the endpoints and moving from Office 365 to Microsoft 365, because this is a Microsoft event, right? So we're talking about that stuff. We needed to put some endpoint management in place to help automate the deployment. You've moved to an acquisitorial state as a business, and we've got regional challenges around the globe with how we deal with endpoints. So what do we do?
So we essentially, in order to scale things like device deployment, we adopted Microsoft Endpoint Manager, so Intune and Autopilot for deployment of devices. It sort of covered off a few key areas for us, one being obviously standardization of devices, so applications we were deploying, that sort of thing. Obviously security of our estate, there was a very sort of clear security baseline of every device that we were deploying. But also from a service and support perspective, there was consistency in the way we were deploying devices, so it actually ended up having a positive effect in the amount of support tickets that were being raised with the service desk. So less support tickets, more utilised workforce, better uptime. So,
and actually, at the beginning of the pandemic, we did a lot of conference calls together where you had piles of laptops in your home trying to get them out the door, and I think that's something that's resonated with a lot of organisations. Autopilot, Intune, made your life easier?
Yeah, massively.
we were promised 2 mics, so this is the pass the mic in a very safe way. So we've now got endpoints that are managed. We've moved some workloads into Azure. We're looking at what's next. And actually, as a business, you have fluctuations in staffing levels, workloads. So what do we do there?
So we look to Windows Virtual Desktop. So we, as a business, as you mentioned, will use freelancers and contractors quite regularly to support on campaign delivery for our clients. So in order for us to able to facilitate access to client data securely, we deployed Windows Virtual Desktop to our UK and US regions with a view that we were able to give access to data but in a controlled and secure way. That was the original sort of scope. It sort of developed sort of halfway through the project in that one of our specific areas within the business, our data analytics team, they realized that there was some benefits there to deploying some of the sort of more compute-heavy resources like Power BI via remote apps within Windows Virtual Desktop. So halfway through, we ended up deploying remote apps, Power BI via remote apps, to our data team, so that it didn't require us to incur sort of upfront costs on increasing specs for devices like bigger graphics-based devices. We're able to sort of centralize that compute resource into Azure and the Windows Virtual Desktop and be able to deliver it in a consistent way.
So some real cost benefits. We actually completed the WVD piece just before the announcement of W365. We've since gone back and looked at some cost analytics, and we're quite confident actually that the price point we've managed to deliver WVD at versus W365 in this use case is significantly lower. Despite the upfront complexities of deploying it, there's low concurrency, high user base, and with features like Power on Connect, we're still comfortable that we're actually delivering way under the budget we initially thought we would come in at actually. So, we did some rough sizing at the start, and subsequently everything came in much lower. The applications performed much better than expected, so some really good results. We pitch this as the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we've talked about lots of cool stuff that we've done. Clearly, bringing a wonderful customer that's just done everything Microsoft to a Microsoft event is great, but some honest, good, bad, and ugly then from all of the things that we've done together over the last 18 months.
So the good being us being in the Azure platform as a whole. I mentioned at the start via our acquisitions of Omo Bono and Kingpin Communications that we're now in a platform that's going to allow us to grow globally without limitation. So it opens up a lot more opportunity for us, and rather than us being a hurdle or a challenge operationally, we become an enabler to the business. A bad would be, and this is more project related, so scope creep. So the example I used there with the data team coming in halfway through the project, whilst we've been able to realise some of the benefits of Windows Virtual Desktop, it's a little bit annoying that we haven't been able to identify that at the start of the project. And then the ugly is specific to our agency platform, and this is more, we've sort of realised, we've got to a point where we realised that very early on there were some key challenges with our agency platform around stability and performance that we've been able to achieve through hosting in Azure, but we've realised that there's other agency platform related issues that we've not been able to address entirely. So it's sort of the ugly being that cloud isn't always the answer, and wasn't the answer for us in this case. So.
Not how I wanted to end, but I think it's important to be realistic, and hopefully, as your partner, we gave you some decent advice. You've got to say that because we're picking up the bills later, and but thought this would be an interesting talk, given all the other conversations today, as somebody who's actually done everything that's in the kit bag that's relevant to their business. So, David, really appreciate you giving up your Saturday to come and talk to us. Thank you very much. I'll hand you back to Adam.
Thanks, guys, and hopefully you found that 20 minutes quite insightful into someone's cloud journey. Obviously, big thank you to David for coming down today. Thank you to Greg, as ever, for his expert knowledge and opinions. Thank you very much. A big thank you to Ingram Micro, who invited us down today, and we've been on the stand, spent the day with him, so thank you very much. And thank you to everyone else for attending. I hope you've enjoyed it, and we'll speak to you afterwards. We've got the grey shirts on, there's some in the audience. Come and chat to us afterwards. Thank you very much.